Greetings from northern Wisconsin. This is a small group gathered to try to share some of the information and amazing insights that we've had in the last few days around a workshop called Community Rights Workshop. I want to introduce you to some of these people. This is Mary Raywald from Ashland, Wisconsin. I'll skip the Wisconsins from now on. This is Mike Murtis from Washburn, Matt Hessing from near Cornucopia, Gregory Jennings, and I don't know where you're from, Greg. He has a motorcycle, so we don't know about him. This is Paul Cienfuegos, who's been the presenter for our workshop. I'm Roz Nelson, and just to say again, we're making this video in Alton Forest in Washburn, outside of Washburn, Wisconsin. We meaning a group of approximately 30 people, met at Northland College a couple of months ago for an evening presentation by Paul Cienfuegos. Paul is a community rights expert, activist, and he will explain himself to you in better words later on. We discovered the extent to which our lives are controlled by laws which favor corporations over people. And I think there's a lot of buzz right now about that concept, so you might be listening to this and thinking, I knew that already. But the message that Paul brought us is so mind-blowing. So if you thought you had any personal freedom, you might want to reconsider it. To hopefully inspire you to investigate this topic and to talk about how important it could be to your community. In our little community, we have two very pressing issues. We have a cell tower proposed for Washburn, which is a small town of about 2,000 people. We have a CAFO, confined animal feeding operation, proposed for an area approximately an hour from where we're sitting right now, on land whose waters flow into Lake Superior. Which means we would have manure flowing into Lake Superior, 10% of all the fresh water in the world. The on the cell tower issue, we quickly discovered that we, meaning the people of Washburn, do not have legal rights to oppose the damages the cell phone tower could do based on things like human health, property values, location. The state will not allow citizens of a small town to counter a building of a cell tower based on human health. We cannot protect the health of the human beings in this area from that project. It's illegal. And the CAFO issues fall into that same category of action that we cannot prevent because it impedes the progress of corporate activity, corporate business. We're not saying corporations are bad, we're not saying business is bad, we are all business people in one way or another. We are saying that the legal rights of corporations have taken pretty much control of our lives and whoever is listening to your life. So with that brief little segue, we're going to just discuss these issues tonight in a casual way and see if we can't learn a little bit more ourselves.
Well, I just want to say the one thing that impressed me the most was the story of the farmers in Wellstown in Pennsylvania. And I think that's the story that should be gotten out, which was the fact that you had a conservative rural township made up primarily of farmers who learned about a hog operation that was coming in for 15,000 hogs. And they thought it was going to have a damaging impact on their water, the environment, their property values, everything. They assumed that if they opposed it, it would not come in. They ended up going to the state legislature, to the committee they were assigned to go to, and they were told, this is common practice to approve farms like this. And they were told that they couldn't stop the farm, so they eventually...
The factory.
The factory farm.
Yeah.
So they eventually contacted this organization, the Community Environmental Legal Defense Fund, that is sort of the legal beginning of the community rights movement in this country. And they were told by these lawyers as well that it would be illegal to stop this. And they said, how could this be illegal for us to not be able to stand up for our rights? And so they asked the Community Environmental Legal Defense Fund to write an ordinance which would ban that farm, that factory farm. And I found that to be a very inspiring story, especially since we're just coming off from standing up against the GTAC mine in the Ponoki Mountains and watching the state legislature here in Wisconsin change the laws to allow mining to have worse effects than it already has. So I'm inspired by the stories around the country of communities that have taken this on.
Our activism in the past seems to have been in reaction to something, that we haven't had the opportunity to take a positive step to preempt these things. And the community rights movement is about communities saying, no, we've got a right to protect our health and our environment and our lifestyle, and we're going to say that up front. And if we don't want these activities in our area, we're going to reclaim the right to say that. The rights that we had at one point in our history to more of a degree than we do now. And that, I think, was the biggest message here. You know, the joke about, you know, well, my sign wasn't big enough, or we didn't get enough signatures on the petition, or, you know, we just didn't work hard enough. We learned in the workshop that the whole system is just stacked against us through legal decisions and not even really laws necessarily, but court opinions that were used to make new court opinions that gave rights to these corporations that aren't people, that aren't living beings. And it just is exciting to me to be taking back, you know, those basic rights that we have that we haven't exercised.
Yeah, well, we were ripe for this idea as a community because almost everybody in this community has fought what we were faced with, which was a 22-mile long taconite mine in our watershed, which again would have flowed in Lake Superior and contaminated the water, and in particular the people of Bad River, the Bad River tribe of Ojibwe. So we've been beating our heads against the wall for 4 or 5 years on that issue, going to hearings in Madison, going to local hearings, and finding out over and over again that no one ever listened at the hearings. It didn't, like Mike said, it didn't matter how great your sign was, you know. And we won that, but what was perhaps a reality was that iron ore got dropped so low that we won by default. But we are a group of people that are passionate about our area, and we have found out that our hardest efforts do almost nothing. And so what Paul is telling us is that we can quit fighting, we can quit being a combative us-them in this kind of relationship with the world, and just simply say, we have inherent rights as living beings on earth for health, for clean water, to protect our children, to decide in our communities what values we want. And in our community, we do not want confined animal feeding operations that pollute the lake. So the empowering and, well, I think empowering is the best word. The empowering part of this workshop was to find out that we can now be creative and proactive and take back what we kind of thought we already had. I mean, I think most people thought, well, I'm an American, I have these rights. But we found out we don't. We do not, and this is the metaphor, we do not legally have rights to protect our own health in our own communities. So what we want to do in this community is empower each other and the broader community to to start from the bottom line, to back off and say, this is our home and we are going to protect it, and we are not going to consider the legality or the illegality of what is morally correct.